Hello everyone, and welcome to this second UV Unwrap video. So as I said in the previous one, it's time to work on the second side. So let's get to take a look at my object here. Right now, as you've noticed, this one is done and we're working on that. I'm going to be working with the easiest part and then we get to the most complicated ones. But at the end of the day, it's the same process. So let me go select all of those objects that are not unwrapped yet, go to my UV and delete UVs. So now this whole side will have to be redone, and let's delete the UVs on this one as well. Alright, now first part I'll work with this one. So let's isolate it, focus on it. I will turn it towards my orientation here, and I will go to UV, and for this one I will use a camera base, which means the UVs will be created according to your orientation. Now when I did that, of course my textures will look much better here than here. So what we're going to do, we'll open our UV toolkit, our UV editor, sorry. Let's take a look at my UV toolkit as well that I'm going to need, and I will create seams here. So let's get to create my first seam. Let's go in edge, I'll select that whole loop, and go to my create that I'm going to open, and I will open cut and sew. And the third one we'll be using is unfold. So I opened most of the tools that I needed here. So now that it's selected, let's hit cut. Let me drive my monitor closer. And I will create a new cut here. Now if I go back to my front view and select what should be this UV shell, let's hit frame it, and I will redo my UV and go with camera based. Perspective. Let me turn on my texture, and now I have this first part that seems to be pretty nice. Now that it's selected, I'll just click on unfold and I open this one. So let's go back to UV shell, select this one, and let's move it aside. And as you see here, I have a nice unfold. Now I have this one here that I need to deal with. So let's go to object mode, UV shell, UVs, UV shell, select this, and it seems to be just one, but I created a seam previously, so let's go and hit cut. Now that it's been cut, I will go with my unfold, oops, and it's created too many seams here. So let's go select my object, hit unfold, and I'll have that new shape. My new shell is created, but I've got to clean it a little bit. So let me create a rotation, and while all of my faces are selected, I'll go with straighten UVs, and now look, it's created a pretty straight piece. After that, so I don't have to search for my objects and figure out which one is attached to this one. I can attach it here, attach it back to one of its to the other piece, to the other shell. But for now, I don't really need that. So I will let them here because I will realign my objects in my UV shell according to their material, and I'll explain to you that later. So right now we have our first UV shell, we don't have any stretching. Here we see some nice squares, same thing pretty much everywhere. And let's move on to the next object. So I'll go back to object mode. This guy was isolated, let me remove its isolation, and let's work on this one, which is going to be pretty much the same thing here. So let's go to my perspective view, let me select my object, I'll redo the same process. So I'll go to UV, I'll hit camera based, I'll have my front view here. Now let's go to perspective, so I can definitely select this edge here. This is where I'm going to create my cut, and I will add one here, be able to unfold after that. Let's hit cut, let's go to my first UV shell, which is this one, and let's hit unfold. Now look at it, very straight, all of my squares are the same size. Time to work on this UV shell, hit unfold, oops, and I didn't cut it completely. So let me hit unfold just to find out where is that edge here. Let's go to edge mode, where are you? Alright, I found you, and let's hit now Control Z, and let me add another cut here. There you go. So now when I will go select my UV shell, there, right here, and I hit unfold, I'm getting that same form or shape, whatever that I had previously. I will rotate it again, click straighten UVs, and now it's straight. I look at my tool parts. I will keep them together, these two UV shells, and move them aside to be able to work on my next object. And so only after that that will stack everything. So right now if I go with my unhide, I already have two nice pieces that are unwrapped and ready. Let me just maybe decrease the size of this UV shell here, or these two UV shells. So let me scale them down. They don't have to be that big, and I will probably move this one away. Let's take a look at my unwrap. Beautiful. Let's get to my next object. My next object will be this one. I turn off my smoothing group everywhere. Let's go like this. Alright, so let's focus on this guy now. Right here. We will isolate it, and we'll do the same thing. But now we need to split it in different parts. So let's come to my front view here. I will create again a camera-based UV. So I'll just start having something. Let's go back to my perspective. Now let's start cutting this. So I think I'm going to cut here. And let's create a cut. Let's come back here. Let's hit my unfold. So I've made my first UV shell. It's my UV shell. Select this guy and move it away. So now I can focus on this one. And this one, I will probably have to cut it around here. Let's create my cut. And the final one will be basically cut here as well. So let's go back to my front view, select my UV shell. Let's get to this one, hit unfold. And I don't really like the result on top here, so let's do Control Z. And what I'm going to do is get rid of that seams here, and rather than there, I will cut it right here. There you go. Let's go with a cut. Let's select this one and hit stitch together. So we fix our previous cut with wireframe. Make sure I have everything selected. Alright, that looks pretty cool. Let's go with my cut. Let's come back to my front shell right here. Now let's hit unfold. Turn off my wireframe selection on top here. And I have a pretty nice shape. Alright, that looks pretty cool. Let's drag it and drop it next to the other one. And then I'm going to take this guy here. And I'm going to hit my unfold. Oops. I have to cut it all. And I'm missing one seam here. Let's select it. Create my cut. Let's go back to my UV shell. And let's hit my unfold. So I'll have this new shape. We'll have to kind of readjust it. So what I'm going to do, I'll rotate it to become horizontal, and I will go with my straighten UVs. Now let's take a look how to fix this area, because it seems like everything is kind of rectangular. So let's get to my scale tool right here, and let's scale it down until at least these center ones are back to their cubic shape. After that, we'll be able to deal with other edges. So I will go select this one right here. Let's go to frame it, and let's see what's gonna happen if we try and modify it slightly. And that looks pretty cool. After that, I will go select this guy here. Let's come back closer so we can see it. And you see that it's pretty detailed here. And I think that we need to bring it back up a little. And here's my second piece. Now of course this shell is a little too big versus the other one, and that's the reason why the checker map doesn't look the same. So all I can do, we'll scale them down. See that now I have a little bit bigger cubes here. Let's drag it towards the next one, and here's another part. Let me turn off my isolation and let's take a look at my objects. Object mode, so I'll have this, which is similar to the side. Might have a little stretching here slightly because of the my seam. And now let's get to this one here. There you go. So for this one, might be a little bit tricky, but it's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do, and then we can probably stitch back certain parts, but right now what I'm going to do is that I will detach my faces here. Oops, I went with everything. So let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's increase the size of my selection. Sorry. Like this, and maybe I'll go as far as that. And I'll go with UV. Let's go with a camera based. And while it's still selected, I'll hit create UV shell. So now if I go to my UV shell and select this, I basically have my top part. Now that it's selected, if I go with unfold, I pretty much fixed it. I'll need maybe some work here around the corner, but it's not a big deal at all. So now that I have this UV shell, I think I will create the next one out of here. When it's going to stop. And yeah, let's complete my loop. And let's get to this in one hand. Let's do this like that. And this one, I will be probably, I don't like this, so I'm gonna go a little further like that. Let's get rid of this. So right now I have an exterior cylinder. Let's hit my cut. And this one, I will create my UVs using a cylinder based UV. Let's go back to Control Z. Let's go like this. Alright, let's go with faces then. Yes. Alright. Now let's go to my UVs. I'll go with cylindrical UV. Now my UV cylindrical is upside down, so to be able to modify that, I'll go to my attribute editor, and it will rotate it 90% in the x-axis. Let me hide that again so I can get more room. And I will close it so it kind of covers up the overall structure. I will bring it back here because that's the only piece that I'm actually unwrapping. And let's go get my UV shell, the new one that I've created. Hit unfold. Alright, let me rotate it slightly, and I will definitely straighten my UVs. So now when you look at my cylinder here, this part now has new UV, so this one is UV'd, this one is outside, and we're going to be working on this new group. So in this group, I'm going to go with face. Let's do this, get the loop. Let's get this guy as well, and get a second loop. I'll go get this group here, just like this. Alright, have my selection ready. And for this one, I'll be using a cylinder as well. So let's go back to my UVs, go with cylinder. It's always default in the same orientation, so give it a 90 degrees rotation in the x-axis. As soon as it is, I'm sorry, let's go to Control Z. I'd like to close my cylinder, and then I will definitely come closer to my object. I think it can be slightly bigger. There we go. And I have my new shell. So now let's take this UV shell here, make sure I have the proper selection, and yes, it is. So now what I'm going to do is that I will cut it here first. here. Let's create a cut. And after that, I will come over and cut it here and here as well. So now I created two UV shells, and I will begin with this one here. Let's get to this one. Hit unfold. Let me rotate it slightly. And now I can go straight in my UVs. Grab it, drag it up. After that, I will need to do the job with this one here. So let's go with, let me first reattach this guy with this one. So, okay, let's fix this one first. Let's go ahead and unfold. Let's give the rotation like this. Let's straighten my UVs. Let's move it aside. I'm going to take this guy out here. Let's unfold it as well. And I just need to basically figure out where it's supposed to be attached. And to do that, I'm going to go back to my vertex mode and hit my selection. That means, look at this vertex selected here, that now if I go to that little tiny, or take this UV shell, let's do it another way. Take this UV shell, rotate it back here. Alright, now I'm going to do it probably manually, so let's go to my UV here, and let's see where it's going to hold. So if I select, let's go back to vertex, I'm sorry, this group here, you see their orientation now. So if I select this one, where is it attached? It's attached here, this one is here. Alright, so let's get to my UVs. This guy, bring it here. Let's take this one, drag this one, grab it here. Grab this guy again. Up, up, and up. Now let's go back to my UVs. I'll select both sides, and I'll go stitch together. Now if I give it another try just to clean it, and I'll go to my UV shell right here and hit unfold again, straighten UVs. Now even this one's been pretty much corrected. I'm not sure about this here, this one here. So let's try and adjust it, and it creates stretching. So that would be the perfect orientation. Let's take a look at the bottom part, which seems to be alright. So now I have my object pretty much completely unwrapped. I'm still missing this spot here. Let's get it manually, piece by piece, like this. Let's go back to my front view. Let's hit UV camera based. Boom, there you go. Now I'll go and fold it. Where is it here? It's right here on top. I will move it, rotate it, and I will definitely try to kind of get back this little piece here. Where are you? Okay, that's where you should be attached. So if I take this UV shell now, and I'll go with my unfold and straighten UVs. This time it didn't really work. So, straighten UVs. Alright, let's do it manually. And let's clean that. Now I need to find where is this guy. Part of the back. Okay, so let's leave the front on its own. Let's go with face. Let's select the whole group. Let's go create the UV shell. Let's hit unfold. Let's go grab the remaining parts. Let's go back to object mode. Face mode. Like this. This orientation. Create UVs. So let's go to camera based. Alright, there you go. and I think I'll leave it as a circle. It doesn't matter that much. Now what I don't like is what's going on with this shell here. So let's go to my UV shell and try and fix it. To be able to do that, I will go this time with my optimize, and let's paint around it with my optimize so we can get it back to that nice half circle. Let's go back to object mode, finish my isolation, and we have another piece. Now let's move on to this one here. Let's isolate it, and we'll do basically the same process. So in this orientation, I'll go to face mode. I'll go one, poof, select that whole orientation, have my loop. Let's go to UV, camera base. I have my first loop. Great. Let me get now this one as my second. Let's go like this. Let's go to UVs. This one I'm going to use cylindrical. As I said previously, give it a 90 degrees rotation in X. Let's close that. Come back here. Let's drag that. Oops, I'm sorry. So first I'm going to close it. I'll take those two handles. Then I will slightly increase its size or diameter and decrease its size. And now I have my new piece, and it's been cut properly, I believe. No, so let's go get this edge here, right here, and create a cut. So now if I go to, let's take this one I'm going to sew it. Now let's go with my UV shell right here, and let's hit unfold, and I have pretty much the same thing as for everything else. Now what I need to do, so just previously, as to drag it properly, straighten my UVs here, go in my scale tool and scale it down, then create cubes right here, and so far so good. This one is ready, my top is ready, and now all that I'm missing is this back here. So let's go with my face, 1 and 2, create a new circle, but then I will re-stitch a couple of them together. Let me get the same stitches here first, so let's go in edge, 1 and 2, let's create a new cut here. Alright, let's go back to face mode, like this. Let's go with UV, camera based again. Now I'll create a seam at the same place with the other one, which means here and here. And here, let's go with a cut. Great. Now let's go on the face mode. Select a new loop. Let's go. Oh, sorry. Let's go with this UV shell first. Let's just get done before we forget it, because I need to fold it. Okay. UV shell. Alright, like this. Unfold. Figure out what is wrong in a few seconds with this one. And let me go get the last one here. Face mode. Let's go like this. Go to UV. Let's go with cylindrical. Attribute editor. 90 degrees. Close it. Increase the diameter. And decrease the length. This is what I have. And we have a new shell. Now let's go back to UV shell. I have 1, 2, 3. So this is what this object is made of, and we'll finish them, and then we'll clean that back together. So there is certain ones I'm going to stitch back together. Let's go back to object mode, and there you go. And so I'll have this guy is ready, this one is ready, this one, and it's time to get to this, which is external. So then we're gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last wire. See you in the next video.